my gut feeling is that we're heading a year where sociability is going to be important again, and it's something where I think we're going to see that whole process. When you look at the share button on the Xbox and the PS4. Look at what we're doing with EveryPlay. The ability to create magical moments in your game that other players want to show off is incredibly important. I think next year it's going to be all about putting the power of gameplay back in the hands of the player, and then finding ways to communicate and share that. And I think that that's going to be the best way to get discovered. And I think that's why working at EveryPlay has been such a good thing for us, is because we've seen that starting to emerge, and we're absolutely at the forefront of doing that.
Well, I think like the indie time for small developers with low budgets is maybe going over, so you have to have really money to make it also in the mobile. So I think it's like more segmented in the big players, sadly.
Well, I feel like there's going to be a lot of mid-core to hardcore games in the west part of the world. And also the publishers are going to change a little bit the way they work. They are going to start to work more on live operations.
Mobile industry is still buoyant and it's great. And I think mobile and console now are two markets. We're going to bounce. I mean, in terms of console, the market's going to be obviously largely better in the next 2-3 years, and mobile is going to gain momentum again and again, especially in the many great countries like China, like Brazil. So it's very interesting to see that now those two markets are really complementary and have a very good growth.
Everybody's talking about the micro consoles, but I'm yet to be totally sold on that.
Yeah.
I think it'll be more of the same. I think though the market's getting harder and harder to break, so I think a lot of the smaller companies are going to start folding, unfortunately, and actually having a publisher is becoming more and more needed because you need a big budget to actually get seen.
I think you're going to continue to see massive growth in game companies moving to mobile and or mobile-only games. I think you're going to see more sophistication by mobile gaming companies as far as segmenting out their users. And I think there's going to be a lot of room for new mobile companies. I think it's not just going to be 2 or 3 developers dominating anymore.
That is going to be even more dominated by big companies, so it's going to be even more challenging for indie companies. So you have to, like I think your colleague said, be really creative in order to punch through the big mass.
So again, I think that connecting the players and making players more social is the next thing that's going to happen. You can see it in the top games and in the store and the most successful gaming companies today. What they do is connecting between the players. So I think that if you have a game and your game doesn't let your player to play with another friend, so he would never, there's very low chances that he would recommend it to a friend and you would get another download. And if your game doesn't get a lot of downloads, then you're not getting featured and you're not going to be at the top at the stores. And again, the whole thing is just like a cycle. So what you should do is make sure that your games that has the right social features that fits together with it. It depends on the game and the style of the game, and I think that you should also make sure that your players are actually communicating with each other through the game, so every player can express himself or herself and kind of find themselves within the game. I think that's something that we're going to see later on in next year.
Well, I think we're going to see some interesting second screen applications. So people getting an iPad and an Android tablet connected into a Xbox One, a PS4, PCs, and I think there has been, the Wii U has begun putting some games out there, but I do not think we've seen the more interesting uses of that, and I think there's a whole wave of games coming which will take advantage of the number of screens which are in people's homes these days.
So I think that cross-platform strategies will be much more important in 2014. So typically there are a lot of developers that have taken the iOS first approach and then deal with Android later. But now they can't really afford to ignore the Android market anymore, and simultaneous launches are even more important. So I think this upcoming year, developers, large and small, will really have to consider what cross-platform strategy they will use to get on both iOS and Android, from the beginning of development and not have it as an afterthought.
I mean, what I find really interesting right now is that Berlin in Germany is emerging into a new gaming hub. After VUGA, we established our company there in 2009, being around 280 people. We see that a lot of gaming companies are actually coming to Berlin. Kabam opened up their first office in Berlin. Now King announced that they want to open up a studio in Berlin. So for us, it looks like Europe is coming more and more the continent of producing games and producing the next generation games. So I think that's pretty exciting, and that's something we are looking forward to because it also helps us to establish us as a gaming company and to establish gaming as a new type of entertainment.
TV. So I think second screen games on mobile phones are going to become really important because when you've got a TV audience saying, yay, let's get this app, specifically in a country, you'll hit the charts and do really well. And we're starting to see some really interesting conversations here. So I think having your phone, watching TV, doing things together is going to be really important in 2014.
I think it's going to be very interesting because the whole peripheral software is increasing a lot. And with all the new devices and frameworks, it's just going to be, there's more devices to go to. It's not over. We're still rising.
I think next year we're going to see even more mobile games, even more startups, a lot of money being poured into this. A question of whether it's going to reciprocate in the return, I don't really know, but I think that a lot of money is being poured into mobile social, and whether that pans out for everyone is too soon to tell.
What I look forward to is we're going to see, like this year, I believe you could say that Puzzle and Dragons was this year probably an individual game made potentially this year about $1 billion. I think we may see a couple of those. So to me, the expectation is that we're going to see more and more big games happening on mobile, and they're necessarily just not going to be casual, kind of a semi-casual like Puzzle and Dragons. I'm expecting more kind of mid/core games to really well, and kind of I expect we see some kind of breakout like Clash of Clans that's going to go out and really do like redefine how we look at mobile games. So I'm really expecting that all this talent coming from the console side, the traditional development side into mobile is going to create some really amazing experiences. At the same time, the experience we build around free-to-play will enable those experiences to be monetized at a large scale to the point that we're probably going to see a multiple billion-dollar games.